Hello and welcome to Trying Times. My name's Carmen, and if you're new here, I just want to say welcome. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day, your night, whenever you're listening to this, really, to join me and listen to this. I really, really appreciate you. And if you're coming back and you've listened before, then I just want to say thank you so much for coming back. I love you. I appreciate you. I hope you're having a wonderful day, night. Again, whenever you're listening to this, I hope it's a wonderful time and that everything's good with you. So yeah, that's that. Funny enough, I like how right after I say, I hope everything's good, I will say I wanted to record this episode a couple of days ago, and I just really couldn't get myself into it or into the idea of recording. And that's not to say that I don't enjoy recording, because I do. I mean, it's honestly one of the more fun things I think I get to play around with and do in general. I think it's more so to say that I've had a bit of a rough few days, if you will. I didn't have a lot of energy, let alone the energy to sit down and record and be a little more upbeat than I truly was. And I just felt like it was probably the right decision to wait, just to pause for a second and decide that, okay, I can do this when I'm feeling a little bit more up to it, just so that it feels a little more authentic to me and a little bit more along the lines of how I want it to sound, and maybe be a little bit more upbeat, maybe be a little bit more just myself, and do this show the way that I want to do this show. Now, I will say I'm someone who likes to be prompt to a degree where it's almost so productive that it's unproductive. So I like to schedule in recording days, brainstorming days, editing days, and that sort of thing, so that I don't totally feel like I'm off the ball ever. Like, I like to be very organized in that sense, so that basically when this happens and when I don't totally feel up to something or up to this, I make myself feel a lot worse, because then I have to move things in my schedule to another time or another day so that I'm able to do it when I'm feeling more up to it. But I can honestly say what I'm learning through that is that it's better to wait than to force something at a time when it's not at all going to happen. Or if it is going to happen, it'll happen with a lot of lackluster energy, which is, in my opinion, much worse than it just not happening at all. If that makes any sense, I don't know. I think from that, I've kind of just learned for myself that now, whenever I choose to do something on a day, if something unfortunate comes up, or maybe if there's just something that didn't pan out in terms of timing, planning, whatever it may be, I always choose to just reschedule and do something, like recording, for instance, on another day. I don't know, I'm remembering this meme now, where it says something about how an introvert, like you being an introvert and making plans one day when you're feeling in a little bit more of an extroverted mood, and then the day of those plans rolls around and you're not in that extroverted mood anymore. You're back to your introverted self and you just don't want to do it anymore. That's me with quite a few things. And recording can definitely be one of those things. Working out can be one of those things. Maybe even hanging out and socializing can be one of those things. A lot of the time, not all of us have the energy to just go and do all the things that we want to do. And while that may suck some days, it just is what it is. It's life. We can't really beat ourselves up over it. So with that, I really wanted to sit down and take the time out in this episode to talk a little bit more about the idea of knowing when to take time away, and more so how to spend that time away. That was a pretty long intro, but I did just want to say that that story that I opened the episode with, of me not necessarily having the energy to record, is basically the vibe I was setting, which is very much a real thing. Out of 10 episodes I record, there's probably going to be at least 2 where I have to really reschedule or just push back to record so that I can do it right and do it the way that I want, because it's not going to happen every single time. That goes for everything. I think even in the sense of if you were to cook something, and let's say this is your favorite dish, out of maybe 10 or 15 times you make this dish, there's probably going to be one time where you're just this didn't turn out the way I wanted. And that's normal. It's very much just a thing that happens in our lives. And I think to go off of that, it took me a really long time to learn how to just step away for a second, to be honest, because even still half the time, I don't like that I have to do it. I don't like to have to put things on hold, but it reminds me that whenever I'm back at whatever it may be, it'll be better than it was before. So I think that's what helps to remind me, at least, that sometimes taking a beat or pausing for a second or whatever you might call it is really necessary for honestly all humans. Some of us don't need that time as much as others, but some of us really require it. And I just want this to be like a PSA that it is okay to take that time. So, through all of this and through all of my own experiences, I want to share a bit about taking a break and then the importance that this could have. So, I want to get a little bit into like the reasons to take a break, ways to take a break, how to know when you're feeling a little bit better or re energized, when to bounce back, that type of thing. So, I'll start with reasons to take a break. And I really only have three in front of me here that I wrote down. The first being that you feel a lack of motivation. This one is kind of a given. I think, when you feel like maybe you have a bit of this discomfort, you just don't want to do something, you fully in your head might even be rejecting the idea of doing something because you're just like, I don't want to do this. Sometimes you might even feel, I don't care to do this right now. This one I feel is just kind of a given. And I think obviously fully removing yourself from something won't entirely fix it, but I do think that having some time away will help to repair some of that energy and furthermore, that inspiration for whatever it may be needed towards. So that's number one. Number two is that you feel like you're falling behind or comparing yourself to others a lot. This one I will say is just a very human thing that we all do. And honestly, I think it's hard to not feel this. But when you find yourself in a loop of feeling behind and needing to do more, and then you see people doing more, and you're just like, why can't I do that? Or how come this is working out so well here, but I can't really apply that to myself? This is a great example of, this sort of feeling. And I think when you're sitting there and you're kind of just like, I don't know how to do this, I don't even know where to start. It sounds counterproductive, but it's probably best to take a second away and not stop thinking about it, but just really assess this from afar to see what your true goals and aspirations might be. Because it's really easy to have an interest in something and to be good at something and start doing it, and then kind of just get caught up in this loop of feeling like you're not doing enough, and then furthermore, comparing yourself to others. And it's just not a healthy state to live in consistently, if that makes sense. The last reason I'll say to take a break is that you feel this kind of goes hand in hand, by the way, with the first two, but you feel a pit in your stomach or you have a gut feeling that you just don't feel totally right having before taking on a task or starting something. So, this one can be kind of a mixed bag, I'll be honest. Sometimes jumping into whatever said thing is can be the best thing for you. On the other hand, if you're feeling particularly bad or poor in yourself or low in yourself, it might be best for you to take a second just to cope and be present and really, like, as the kids say, touch grass, because that's a good sign that maybe, you're thinking of the end result a little too quick. I think it's kind of one of those moments where it's best to rewind and really assess or to just take a pause and assess. It's kind of your choice how you want to go about that. But I think that that's really, really beneficial and helpful. I'll follow that up with different ways to take a break. And I want to add that these are the ways that work for me that I'm going to talk about. And these are things that could either be incorporated throughout however much time you want. This could be daily, it could be something you try once, it could be whatever you really want out of it, honestly. And the first one I'll say, and I will die on this hill, is exercise. I say this all the time with so many different things, and I hate being the person that says it, but this is genuinely something that makes me feel so much better. And the best part is that there are a million and one different ways that you can really incorporate this into your life. You can go on a walk, you can try running, you can go to a gym, you can go to a different class that you maybe never tried before. Maybe you want to go to yoga, maybe you want to try Pilates, maybe you want to do kickboxing. It could be something like that, or it could be literally anything else. Basically, there's a number of different ways that you could try this. Like I said, there's a number of classes, there's so many different ways to incorporate this. And if you don't feel up for that, I will say, and I know a lot of people say this on TikTok, they're like, go for your mental health walk or your hot girl walk or whatever you want to call it. Going for a walk is actually pretty nice most of the time. I'm not going to sit here and be like, it'll solve your problems all the time, because that will not happen. And if you think about that with anything you do, it probably will not help. It probably will not work. But it is something that helps you redirect your energy elsewhere, which in turn can help you feel a little bit of relief, at least mentally, maybe physically, in a ton of different ways. So there's that one. The other one I will say is stepping out of your everyday setting and going on either a day trip, like driving somewhere, going for a hike, or even going on a vacation if that's something you're able to do. Again, this is something that could be an hour out of your day. It could be a week of your time. It depends on your own needs, your wants, and your abilities, whatnot, all that kind of stuff. So, this is also a great thing to always incorporate here and there if you're able to. The third thing I wrote down is processing some of the things in your mind, but onto a piece of paper or even onto a screen. And what I mean by this is journal. Again, I will die on this hill. It can be a huge help to get your thoughts out of your head and onto paper or typing it out, whatever helps you, whatever works for you. I think it's so important to mention how resourceful this can be and how helpful it can be to really process your thoughts, get your mind set out in a sense onto a piece of paper and be able to look at that yourself and be like, okay, how am I really feeling about something? How am I really thinking about something? So that's like a huge bonus, I'll say. I think that's a great thing to do. The next and final sort of resource I guess I have written down is indulging in your hobbies if and when you can. For me, for instance, I love reading. So sometimes when I feel a little overwhelmed, I'll go ahead and just pick up a book because honestly, it's something that can help you delve into another world and just be present in that sense. And a lot of the time, I find it's a really peaceful thing to do because if you're sitting or if you're laying down, whatever it may be, and wherever you're doing that, you just feel a little more calm. You feel a little more at peace. So I love recommending reading because it's a really nice thing to do. Again, this depends on whatever your hobbies are. You could paint or draw if that's something you love or anything you enjoy, really. Just I recommend doing that and doing that fully if you're able to. So that's it for, I guess, different resources or ways of taking a break. So the last thing I'm really going to get into here is just really answering the question of how do you know when you're good to go again or bounce back, that type of thing. I will start by saying I don't want to say there's a definite answer or that a light bulb's just going to go off above your head when you've had enough time to yourself because let's be real, that's not real. I will say though that there are probably going to be some small telltale signs that will help you realize, like, okay, maybe I'm ready to go again. And some of those signs that you might be able to read into a little bit better are things such as feeling a little more inspired again, feeling like you might have some more energy than you did before. And I think the most important is maybe feeling like you have more motivation to do more. So again, these are all little but very impactful signs that you're ready to do something again or try something new, whatever part of your journey you may be at. I think that's really important to mention. And again, it's different for everyone, but it's really important. And I think at the same time, we can all relate to some degree to this type of thing. So that is all for today. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that wherever you're at in your own journey right now, this episode can resonate in some way or another. And I appreciate you being here and listening. If you want to connect some more about this type of topic or even more just about being inspired and that sort of thing, please feel free to connect with me on Instagram at the Trying Times Podcast. Shoot me a DM. I'd love to chat and pick your brain a little bit more about this too. So yeah, that's all for today and we'll chat again soon, okay? Bye.